अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Sarvebhyo Namaha. Welcome to this session. This is our sixth session in the module Bhagavad-gita systematic study. Today we will start covering this topic, the three gunas of Prakriti, Prakritehe Trigunaha. Before I get into the topic, let me do a very quick review of what we covered in the first 5 sessions. We began with this question, what is Bhagavad-gita and why Bhagavad-gita? These two questions. We touched upon these things. Gita is a part of Mahabharata. We saw the shloka distribution over 5 characters. The meaning of the term Bhagavad-gita. Then we reviewed the fundamental questions addressed in Gita and the answers to them in a gist. Then we also mentioned that Gita is the longest surviving inspirational text. It has inspired millions of people over the centuries. We got into the concepts covered in Gita. We began with the most fundamental distinction between Atma and Anatma, which is required to understand everything else in Gita. We contrasted them over multiple dimensions. Then we said there's a difference between Jivatma and Paramatma, two types of Atma. Then we also understood the meanings of these terms, Kshetra, Kshetrajna and Jnana, related to the topic of Atma and Anatma. Then we went into Samsara and Moksha, two very important terms. Under that, the Jivatma's avastha, as broadly speaking, Baddha avastha, also called Samsara avastha, material existence, versus Moksha or Mukti, also known as liberation. Then, in material existence, we talk about 3 other states, Jagrati, Swapna and Susupti. And finally, Samadhi is the state when the person or the Jivatma is in touch with their original nature and they are in the state of being liberated. We saw a broad framework which relates Bhagavan with the Jivatma and Prakriti, and within that, Samsara, Yoga and Moksha. Then we understood these terms, Kshara, Akshara, the 2 types of Jivatma. Kshara Jiva, which is the Baddha Jiva, Akshara, which is the Mukta Jiva, and Purushottama or Paramatma, who is both Akshara and Uttama, is beyond both of them. Then we spent some time talking about Punarjanma, reincarnation. We also said modern research has found evidence of reincarnation. Then we asked the question, why is the Baddha Jivatma in samsara? We spoke about Maya and Ajnana, the force that keeps the Baddha Jivatma in samsara, and within the Jivatma or in the Jivatma there is Ichcha and Dvesh. These are the causes for the Jivatma's samsara. The Jivatma becomes free from them, then he becomes eligible for moksha. Yoga is the process. Yoga means connecting with Bhagavan or connecting with Paramatma. That is the means to getting moksha and discovering our own natural existence. Here, as we spoke about yoga, we also saw how Bhagavad-gita chapters, the 18 chapters, are classified into 3 categories. The first 6 dealing with karma yoga, the next 6, I should mistake here. The next 6 actually bhakti yoga, and the last 6 is jnana yoga. Okay, so let me actually correct that right now so that it is not wrongly in the recording. Okay, so this is the dominant classification. It's not that in these each of these 6 chapters only karma yoga or only bhakti yoga or only jnana yoga is spoken. Just dominantly, these are the themes of these respective 6 chapters. Then we made distinctions between karma yoga, jnana yoga and bhakti yoga along 3 dimensions: identity, approach and process. These broad distinctions help us to appreciate the difference between them, even though all of them are aimed at the same thing, but there are differences and they are suitable for different people. Then we also spoke about Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. These are the ways by which we actually absorb our mind. We hear, we absorb our mind, and our understanding develops by doing this. Our consciousness improves. After this, we went to the topic of dharma versus adharma. Dharma is the all pervading or overarching theme of the Indian knowledge system. We first touched upon 5 connotations of the word dharma as it's used in society. Building on that, we saw a formal definition of Manava Dharma and a framework which shows how dharma is actually practiced in different ways through our behavior or tendencies and through regulations, rules, etc. And then eventually, its consequences of making society happy, the well being of everyone, is a consequence, a broad consequence of dharma. We distinguished between dharma and adharma by looking at first some of the qualities of each of them, and we touched upon ahimsa. We discussed ahimsa in some more detail. We mentioned and we saw a shloka which describes how dharma is what distinguishes human beings from animals and gives purpose to human life. Sri Bhagavan is the source, the protector, and the perfect follower of dharma. We mentioned this. And then we summarized the discussion by noting the distinctions between dharma and adharma. Then we went into the 4 Purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, and finally the Panchama Purushartha or prema. The 4 Purusharthas are mentioned everywhere in the Indian knowledge system. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. And Panchama Purushartha is also mentioned, but in a more covert manner, a more hidden manner. Of course, Sri Vyasdevji's, you can say, the final work, the last thing that he did in his life was Bhagavatam. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that's also considered his best work. The pinnacle of all his literary accomplishments is the Bhagavatam. And the Bhagavatam focuses heavily on Panchama Purushartha, Prema. And it describes the contrast between this Purushartha and the other 4. It says, well beyond the other 4 is Prema. And the goal of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha is eventually to take one towards Prema. He also mentioned here that Prema is not just a feeling, an emotional feeling of love. It is actually a Shakti which comes from Bhagavan. It's his Antaranga Shakti which defines him. The most defining characteristic of Bhagavan is his Prema. And when that Shakti comes to us, then we get that Prema and we get energized by it. And then the emotion of pure love is experienced by us. Right now, what we experience as love is a material form of love, which also is by itself very powerful. It gives us a lot of happiness. As we spoke about the Purusharthas, we also said the terms Pravritti Marga and Nivritti Marga. They are used in these ways. Samanya Dharma versus Parodharma. Now, Ashita has sent me doubts, so I'm quickly discussing them and then we can have further discussion. Does prema lead to forgiveness, compassion, self-compassion, gratitude, and cooperation, or is it the other way around? Now, there are 2 stages. It's called sadhya and sadhana. Sadhana is the first stage, the stage in which we practice, we come to know about these things, right? As we come to know about these things, we decide to pursue them. We decide to pursue, we didn't know about all this so far. So we begin what is called a sadhana. Sadhana means the stage of practice, systematic practice of, purifying our consciousness and increasing our involvement with Bhagavan, our connection with Bhagavan. So in the stage of sadhana, forgiveness, compassion, self-compassion, gratitude, cooperation are practiced by us consciously, means deliberately practiced. We don't have the prema that we want to get. We don't have it right now. We recognize that we don't have it and we aspire for it. Prema is right now an aspirational thing. But we practice forgiveness, compassion, self-compassion, etc. as a matter of our sadhana, by doing which we attract prema. By doing that, we show our intention to become a servant of Bhagavan, to unite with him as his servant. And by doing that, we pray to him that please give us your prema. Please give us that Shakti, which will be the greatest wealth for us. And so, as a matter of sadhana, we do this even though we don't have prema. So, eventually, when prema comes, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu describes how by practicing, of course, prema is not a mechanical consequence of sadhana. It's called ahituki, means it's not a consequence of anything except Bhagavan's kripa and Bhakta kripa. Bhagavan decides that I should now give him prema, because the reason why it's like that is because Bhagavan does not give prema to anyone just like that. Why? Because when he gives prema, he becomes their servant. He surrenders to the person who has prema. Just like in the case of the Pandavas, we see that Bhagavan is there for them, he is willing to do anything for them. Okay, Arjuna says, become my charioteer, he becomes his charioteer. Can anyone ask God like that, become my car driver? Become my driver, come. People go to God, they fall at his feet. But when God falls at somebody's feet, that means that person has prema. So, Bhagavan does not give prema easily, even to a person who is very, very pure at heart. Even to somebody whose heart is free from all desires, who has got moksha. Even to somebody who has got moksha, but Bhagavan does not give prema very easily. That's why prema, one of its qualities is sudurlabha. Even the process to get that, even that desire that I should get prema is considered to be a very rare desire. Very few people even know about it or want to have it, or after hearing about it, very few people develop the shraddha that it is something worth aspiring for. But once someone develops that, then they are at least on that path towards it. And even then, Bhagavan does not give it very easily. But eventually, when one gets it, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes that when one gets it, it's a state of high excitement. Means it's even before prema, there's one more stage called bhav. It's called bhava bhakti. Bhava is compared to how, if prema is compared to the bright sunshine, if prema is compared to the bright sunshine of the sun, let's say in the summer, the sun comes up fully, and when it's up in the sky, the whole land is bright and it's hot, heat and light and everything. The sun completely fills up the world with its heat and light. So prema is like that. When prema comes, it fills us with that heat and light of its love. But before that, when the sun just rises above the horizon, or the sun is about to rise, it's not yet risen, but before the sunrise happens, we see light in the sky, right? And we know that now it's going to rise. So that light in the sky, that initial faint light, the light of the dawn, is compared to bhav, the feeling of bhava bhakti. When prema is going to come, when Bhagavan has got ready to give it to us and he's about to give it to us, at that time we feel that bhav in the heart. And that bhav itself, he describes, Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which I will cover for you afterwards. He describes that this is a state of ushnata. Ushnata means heat or excitement. The person feels exhilaration within themselves, very natural sense of exhilaration. Okay, it's analogous to what normally happens when you feel exhilarated in a situation of happiness in this world. Let's say like your friend got married, you went for the marriage, and there's a lot of exhilaration when the different events of the marriage happen, when the boy and the girl are touching each other or something. Different things happen in a marriage, and people experience joy at different times. Similarly, it's somebody's birthday, and then you all get together, and there's so much excitement. So this kind of exhilaration comes right now for us from something external. And thing external to us happens in this world. It's not inside us, it's outside of us. But when we become part of that outside thing, we feel exhilarated. But here, bhav is something that comes inside. It's inside us. And when it comes inside, even without anything outside, even if you're put in the worst of situations outside, this exhilaration and happiness inside. And that is why such a person doesn't get disturbed by anything. So now coming to your specific question, does prema lead to forgiveness? Yes, obviously. When that prema comes, or even when that bhav comes before prema, that person's happiness is so high that forgiveness, compassion, self-compassion, gratitude, cooperation, and these kind of good qualities, they don't have to be practiced. They are no longer logical. They are spontaneous. They are not a result of our wanting to be like that. We don't have to want to be like that because we naturally become like that. Just like Yudhishthira or Arjuna, the Pandavas, they were naturally compassionate, naturally forgiving, naturally. That's why when Duryodhana comes to kill him or insults him so many times, Yudhishthira has no feeling of any grudge against him because the love is so high that you cannot feel any grudge. He knows that this fellow is a fool. He knows that this guy is an idiot. And he can see it very clearly, so clearly that he doesn't feel any anger against him. He only feels compassion on him. It becomes spontaneous. Okay, so Ashita, I've given a long answer, but does it clarify your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'll go to the second one. Second question is, how can we measure prema? Now, I know that as a FPM student, you will think in terms of research and everything has to be measured for research to happen. Particularly if it is quantitative research, we need to use scales to measure and so on. So if you're asking the question from that perspective, the answer is yeah, you can design some scale and try to measure prema. But like I said, if you're talking about the prema that is coming from Bhagavan, that prema, that Shakti, Antaranga Shakti, then obviously we can't measure it because rarely it's ever present in anyone. You rarely find a person who has it. So you will not find anyone in whom you can measure it, even if it's measurable. Second thing is, it is of the nature that it is aprameya, means it is something that cannot be measured by definition. Just like the Atma itself is aprameya, the Atma cannot be measured. Atma has no measure. So prema that way cannot be measured from that point of view. So using scales also, I would say, even if you try to design a scale for someone to respond to, even with all the limitations of a scale or the strengths of a scale, I don't think it's possible to measure the prema that we are talking about. You can measure normal material sense of love. But we talk about affection, love in the material world towards our friends or our parents and our pets and so on. That you can measure with the scales, with all the limitations though, keeping in mind that it's self-reported measures. It has its own set of limitations, but you can measure. But this prema cannot be measured. You can only talk about it, describe it, and you can experience it. It can be experienced but not measured. That's how I would answer this. Ashita, you have a question on that?
No, sir. I have a question on material love. That material love is dependent on so many things, and how can it be powerful?
Well, compared to all other material emotions like greed or, you know, jealousy or even material, what else? What other feelings you can list a lot of material feelings, right? Amongst all of them, the feeling of love is most powerful, especially when it is based on something that is not subject to conditions. The less conditional it is, the more powerful it is. Like, for example, the mother's love for a child, it's the least conditional love among all the material forms of love. It's still material. Why? Because it is based on the identity. I am the mother, this is my child. That feeling is there. So that is based on material identity of me and mine, aham and mama, right? And therefore it is still material, but it is the least conditional among all forms of love. For example, if you take another love, like between a servant and the boss, okay, in a company, somebody works for a boss in the company, and the company is a proprietor-driven company, so the servants or the employees are heavily dependent upon the boss. So they show love towards the boss, but it's conditional love very strongly because as long as they are employed with that person, they know that person is protecting them, paying them a salary, giving them a meaningful, existence, protected existence, security, and so on. So that conditionality is present, but there is love. They will stand for that boss. They will support him. They will do what he says. They will show him a lot of respect and affection, but it's conditional. So compared to a mother's love, it is weaker love because it's more conditional. But among all the forms of feelings in this world, love is the one that gives the best happiness. When there is love, there is happiness. When the opposite of love happens, there is hatred or rejection, envy. Those things actually give us more stress. They give us more feeling of frustration, depression, dejection comes from those feelings. But material love, among all the material feelings, gives the best happiness. That's why it's most powerful. Ashita, has it addressed what you had in mind? Or?
Yes, sir. And sir, I have another question that if prema is just simply experience, then how someone becomes conscious of the fact that he or she is finally experiencing prema, or does like it doesn't happen?
Because prema comes with jnana. So, how do I know that I have prema? If I have prema, then automatically I know that I have prema because it comes with jnana. Jnana, Rupa Goswami describes, is a what do you call a natural side effect of prema. It is not required to understand prema. You don't require jnana to throw light on prema to know that prema is present. Did you understand this statement? It's a profound statement. Prema throws light on jnana. When prema is present, automatically all jnana, for example, what is the most basic jnana? That I am the jivatma, right? We talked about the word jnana earlier. Jnana means to know that I am the atma, different from the body. That's the most basic jnana in this knowledge. Now, suppose somebody did not do jnana yoga or did not think about that. Suppose somebody did not contemplate on that. I am the atma, I am this, I am that, I'm not the body, etc. That's not there in their mind. They're only doing bhakti. And as they do bhakti, by Bhagavan's kripa, the prema enters into them. Then automatically the knowledge that I am not this body is automatically revealed to them. It's there, spontaneous. The jnana is automatic. Similarly, the jnana that I have prema, that is called anuvyavasaya jnanam. Anuvyavasaya jnanam means the jnana that I have jnana, or you can say meta knowledge, knowledge about knowledge. That is an outcome. Prema gives that knowledge. I have prema. Did you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. And bhakti yoga is a way to inculcate prema within us or get
Yes.
blessed with prema.
Yes. In Bhakti Yoga, there are again some small variations. So when we say Bhakti here, we say Uttama Bhakti. Uttama Bhakti means Bhakti which has no apeksha, means Akanksha Rahita Bhakti. It has no apeksha for, first of all, any material return. We spoke about four types of bhaktas which are described in the seventh chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Artho Jigyasur Artharthi Jnani Cha Bharatrashava. So one who is in distress, they also go to Bhagavan for this thing, and that's also called bhakti only. Bhakti with an expectation of some material return like protection or wealth or whatever. The second form of bhakti is a bhakti which looks for mukti. That is, I'm doing bhakti because I want mukti. Bhakti as a tool for getting mukti. Bhakti as an instrument for mukti. So both of these forms of bhakti, bhakti which looks for either something material that is called bhoga yukta, bhoga, bhoga apekshita bhakti, you can say. The bhoga means material returns are a goal of that bhakti. The other is mukti. Mukti is a goal of bhakti. But here, Uttama bhakti is bhakti which is free from both those desires. I neither am looking for material return nor am I looking for mukti. I'm looking only for prema. When bhakti is done like that, then prema comes. Bhakti, which is completely, that's called Shuddha Bhakti or Kevala Bhakti, Ananya Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti. These are all terms of that form of bhakti. So within Bhakti Yoga, this form of bhakti is the one that leads to prema. Okay. Can I go forward? Can I go to your
Yes,
next
sir.
question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it necessary that a person who is full of prema thrives and flourishes in academics and career? Well, what do you mean by the word necessary? You're saying, is it a condition
Yeah,
or
like it's
is it?
inevitable. If person is full of prema, he or she will
Yeah,
thrive in career and
in career, and
flourish.
yes, naturally. If a person is filled with prema, they will thrive in anything that they decide to do. They will, suppose they decide to do any career, whether it's academics or non-academics, and they do that career, they will thrive in that. Whatever they do or they don't do, they will thrive in whatever form of existence they are. They will do that very well. There's no doubt about that. Once again, the example of the Pandavas, the example of the gopis. The gopis in the Dashamaskanda are described as people who were very, very conscious of their work. They did all their work perfectly. taking care of the go, whatever. They're village, they're living the life of a village people, and they're simple people. They take care of the go, they clean the goshala, they go and then they play with each other, they celebrate festivals. But whatever they do with full involvement, responsibility. On the other hand, here in Hastinapura, we have the Pandavas. The Pandavas are ruling the kingdom. So if you see the descriptions in Mahabharata when Yudhishthira was ruling, what happened in the kingdom? You'll see that, I mean, nobody can do it better. Just like we say Rama Rajyam. So Yudhishthira Rajya is similar. It's perfect. Everything that it's done is done perfectly with full responsibility, full attention. So yes, your answer to this is yes. Flourish.
Sir, I have one more question. So
Hmm.
we can say that Prahlad's bhakti is Uttama bhakti.
Yes. Prahlad is
And
also in that stage. You see, anybody we talk about who is a Nitya Bhakta of Bhagavan is already in that stage of Uttama Bhakti. Even though at the stage of sadhana, that person may not have had Uttama Bhakti while doing sadhana, but eventually, yes, Prahlad, yes, yes. So your question
sir,
is?
so what about Ravan? Because Ravan he worshipped Lord Shiva, and then in return he got certain what can we say that in return he asked for some wishes, and his wishes got fulfilled. And similarly to other demons and rakshas, like they
Yeah.
worship
So, yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Ravana, of course, we can speak about in two ways. The first way is the way in which you're asking this question. Ravana in that role as Ravana. So no, that is not Uttama Bhakti at all. That is just a business transaction with Shiva. So he's doing that bhakti to Bhagavan there just to get something in return. He wants that power and everything. And so he does bhakti. And he has no respect for Shiva also. He's only seeing Shiva as a source of that return. It's like we do business with somebody, anybody in this world. We don't necessarily have to think about them in respectful terms or with any affection, anything. We are doing it because we want something in return from that person. So, in the course of our transaction, we behave respectfully to that person because our transaction has to go through. So, we conduct ourselves with dignity, with respect, with decency, and everything so that that person will transact with us and give us what we want. In our heart, we don't have anything for that person. So, Ravana's transaction with Shiva is like that, right? So, that is not at all bhakti. It is not any form of bhakti. It is just transaction, but operationally, it looks like bhakti. It doesn't even have basic respect for him because we see what Ravana did after that, after getting from Shiva, whatever he got. But this is one way to talk about Ravana. But of course, we also know that Ravana happens to be an incarnation of a person by name Jaya. Jaya is a Nitya Bhakta of Bhagavan. Jaya is in Vaikuntha Loka. And the story, you're aware of this narrative, right? Are you aware or no? You heard of it? Jaya Vijaya. Vedangi?
No, sir. No.
Okay. So Jaya Vijaya are actually the Dwarapalakas of Vaikuntha, of Vishnu's palace specifically in Vaikuntha. So if you go to any Vishnu temple anywhere in India, you will see outside the temple, when you're entering the main gate of the temple, two Vishnu-like characters standing outside. Not human beings, I mean two statues, two idols. Okay, two idols of Vishnu-like characters having that forearms and so on. Have you observed this anytime? Any of you? No? Okay.
Sir,
Sir,
I've been.
are those yakshas that we are talking about?
Ah, they are not yakshas. Yakshas also are present. Characters like yakshas also are present in temples in India. But in Vishnu temple specifically, you'll see two characters who look like Vishnu, two idols, at the door. On the one on the left side, one on the right side, on either side of the door. Okay, next time you can observe this.
Okay. Mhm. Yes, sir.
This is even more in South Indian temples. In the north, also I have seen, but if you go to the south, let's say Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, everywhere you will see this. You can even go to Google Images and Google on some name of some South Indian temple. You will see this character. On the Gopuram also you will see. On both sides, these two characters are present. Okay, they are Jaya and Vijaya. Means they are the gatekeepers of the palace of Vishnu. Okay, now Naturally, if they are in Vaikuntha and they are gatekeepers of Vishnu's palace, they are directly in touch with him. They are naturally Uttama Bhaktas and they have bhakti, they have prem in their heart. That's why they are there. Now, they get cursed because the four sons of Brahma, who are actually Mukta Jivas, who don't have bhakti at that point of time, they are Moksha, Mukta Jivas. They are Nitya Muktas, they are Jnanis, means they have realization of Brahma. Bhagavan as Brahma. Okay, Bhagavan's another name is Brahma, and Bhagavan reveals to those people who think of him like that, as Brahma. So Brahma means they think of Bhagavan as some energy, some full energy who is conscious, a conscious being, something. They have some understanding which has no form, which has no characteristics, details, and so on. So these four, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar, four of them, they are said to be sons of Brahma. So they are Mukta Jivas and they are traveling everywhere and they happen to be in Vaikuntha. And in Vaikuntha, they are eager to see Vishnu. They have heard about Vishnu. They're eager to see him. They go to see him. But at the entrance to the palace, these two guards, they stop because that's their job. They stop them. So at that point of time, the four sons of Brahma, they're called what? Called the Kumaras in general. They give a curse to them. They're saying that, who are you to stop us? Because this shows that you have some dvesh in your heart and you don't deserve to be in Vaikuntha. So you will go down to samsara. You will experience samsara. So then the Dwarapalakas, realizing that these are great personalities, they beg forgiveness from them. So at that time, Vishnu himself comes out and he tells them that it was I actually who wanted this, and I have arranged for this to happen. I wanted to perform Leela, and for my Leela, I have chosen you to come with me. So they are then born in three births. They take three births in the samsara. So in the first birth, they are born as the demons Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu are Jaya and Vijaya. In the second birth, they are born as Ravana and Kumbhakarna. Ravana and Kumbhakarna. And in the third birth, they are born as Sishupala and Dantavakra. So in the first birth, Sri Bhagavan comes and performs the Narsimha Leela and he kills them. Of course, he performs the Varaha Leela to kill Hiranyaksha and Narsimha Leela to kill Hiranyakashipu. And then when he comes as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, when they come as Ravana and Kumbhakarna, he comes as Sri Ram and he kills them. And finally, when Shishupala and Dantavakra, he comes as Krishna and kills them. So three births, and then they become Mukta again. They go back to their Swarup as Jiva. So how did this question come? I don't know from where we took off, but anyway, we ended up saying this too. So does it answer this question? Is it necessary that a person full of prema thrives and flourishes? Yes. Answer
Yes,
is
sir. We were actually discussing about Ravan and his bhakti,
yes.
and then he
Yes,
was
yes.
blessed with certain boons. Yeah.
Yes. Correct. Hmm. So I have a weakness for telling stories. I'll go into stories which you didn't ask for. I hope you like them.
Yes, sir. They're very interesting. Like, I was not aware that
Kashipu.
Kashipu and Hiranyakaship, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, all they are Jaya Vijaya.
Okay. Good. Any further doubts? And shall I move on to the next thing? Vedangi, anything from your side at this point?
No, sir. One doubt that I had that has already been covered in the previous discussion, so it's fine.
Good. Okay. Now I move forward. All right. So now I want to begin with a little bit and then we'll go into the three gunas. So we said earlier that dharma comes from Bhagavan. And as we talked about this, one question that comes to mind repeatedly is who or what is Bhagavan? And is God a suitable translation for Bhagavan? So this question comes to me repeatedly from different people. And recently I did a MDP a few days back for a set of people working in different companies. So now this topic of, Bhagavad-gita and, in general, the concepts covered in the Indian knowledge system are increasingly being covered in MDPs too, and I'm being invited to conduct such sessions. So I raised this question and I asked people, and eventually I summarized it like this, that how do we understand Bhagavan from the Indian knowledge system? Now, is God a suitable translation? I would say no, because the word God comes from English. It's an English word, right? And it comes from a certain tradition and understanding that people who speak English have developed. And they have conceived that entity called God in some manner. Yes, there is an overlap with what we call Bhagavan, but our understanding of Bhagavan is not exactly what they understand by God. It's actually much broader. It encompasses what they call by God, but is actually much bigger. Therefore, holistically, if we want to understand Bhagavan, we should not restrict ourselves to to the word God. If we have to use the word God somewhere while writing a paper or something, then we should clarify there that what we mean by God is all of this. Okay, so I'm going to cover that now. Bhagavan, I would say, the best way to say is probably universal living being, if you want to put it in a concise way. But then you should realize that what it means is that Bhagavan has so many aspects covered in it. One is the unitive aspect. Bhagavan is one in whom all living beings and everything else, non living beings also, are present. The second is the pervasive aspect. Bhagavan is not only one in whom everything is present, but who is present in everything as the common uniting principle. Bhagavan unites all of us, is the union of all of us, and he is present in all of us, and therefore he is the uniting principle, like a thread is present in, across all the beads in a garland or in a necklace. So many beads make up a necklace, and the thread is the common thing for them. The Bhagavan is the common thread for all of us. It's all pervasive. And third is the diversity of Bhagavan's manifestation. There's only one Bhagavan, but that Bhagavan manifests differently to different people as they think of. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As one aspires or tries to understand me, I reveal myself to that person in the way that person tries to understand me. Then Bhagavan as the source of everything, the source of love, wisdom, knowledge, strength, purity, strength of all the good things, and as a source of all the good things and source of all what we call bad things also. Because good and bad actually are reconciled when we realize Bhagavan. Everything is Bhagavan. Perfection. So Bhagavan is a perfect practitioner of Dharma. Nobody practices Dharma better than him. Bhagavan is exemplary. He is the best role model for leadership, for anything that we aspire, the people we worship. The aspirants, for that should actually take Bhagavan as the example. And finally, Bhagavan is the all attractive personality. Is attractive, inspiring, and full of love, and somebody with whom we can have a sambandha, with a relationship. So, this understanding is the highest understanding of Bhagavan. So, all of these put together comprise a more holistic understanding of the word Bhagavan, and we should understand him this way, right? And the last few I've listed here in some order. The first few are the ones that many people are comfortable with. But as it goes downwards, people become a little uncomfortable thinking of Bhagavan as a person and so on. They think it's religious, especially the modern educated person. They think the moment you say the word religion, they get repelled. They become cautious because religion is also associated with, so many negative things like conflicts and terrorism and so on, or at least a narrow minded mentality. Religion inspires a narrow minded mentality, people think. Right? So that's how religion is understood. So therefore, when we talk about God as a person and somebody to be worshipped and puja has to be done and so on, people get repelled. So the last few, that personal aspects of Bhagavan, not everyone is open to, and it should be taught properly. If it is taught properly, people will understand it, and then they will realize it's not what we thought it was. But right now, people are still attracted to the higher aspects that I've put here, the unitive aspect. If you talk about Bhagavan in that way, then people are interested. Now, I mentioned all this because three gunas of Prakriti, which we are going to talk about, and which is actually a major topic in IKS research today. That's why, for both of you, it's very relevant. Three gunas of Prakriti is a topic which is easy to understand compared to many other topics which are more abstract, like Atma, Anatma. These are more abstract topics compared to this. And therefore, that's why you can develop scales. People have developed so many scales to measure, and people have related this to personality theories and this and that. So, people from psychology and all that, they can have a good time with this topic. Now, if you see this literature in the modern management research or social science research which deals with this, you will see that there's no mention of Bhagavan anywhere. There's no, even indirect reference to any form of God or divinity, nothing. It's all about personality and different interpretations of personality in terms of the three gunas. Now, this is where I want to point out to you as we study this from Bhagavad-gita. Bhagavad-gita is centered around Bhagavan, and everything is connected to Bhagavan in some way or the other. And therefore, if we are trying to understand three gunas of Prakriti without Bhagavan in it, then our understanding will remain incomplete. It will only be partial. So therefore, for a complete understanding, we should keep Bhagavan at the center. As we discuss these things, we should realize that we're discussing them in connection with how to realize Bhagavan or how to connect with Bhagavan. We're discussing them in connection with Bhagavan. That should be the back of our mind. And that is why I touched upon that topic as we go into this. But we can think about him in whatever way we are comfortable. I've listed several ways in which we can think about him. In whatever way that we are comfortable, or holistically, all of that put together simultaneously, we can think about it like that also. That's fine. But we should keep Bhagavan in mind as we talk about this. Okay, now let me go into this. Understanding the three gunas well helps us to better understand our own swabhav. Okay, swabhav is a very important term in Bhagavad Gita, and I'll come to swabhav after I discuss the three gunas in detail, because swabhav requires a little bit of contemplation. Swabhav is the basis for our mental states, our tendencies, our preferences, our behaviors, and so on. So all of these are topics of psychology, OB, and so you being HR students will also be able to benefit from understanding this very well. Not only our own swabhav, but other people's swabhav as well. So if we understand our own swabhav and other people's swabhav very well, then transacting in this material world becomes much easier for us. We're able to take decisions more intelligently as we relate with people, because ultimately all success in life, so especially success which involves working in a company or a career, a professional career, requires us to interact with people, manage people, or be managed by other people, whatever it is. We need to understand Swabhav very well. If we understand Swabhav well, then all these things become easier to do and become more, workable. And therefore, we find, success more easily. Then we also understand, by understanding Triguna of Prakriti well, we can easily understand or more easily understand the way to go beyond our Swabhav and seek the real happiness inside. Swabhav is material in nature, but our real happiness is not material. It is in us, Atma. We are not material, right? Happiness is not material in its truest sense. So understanding the three gunas helps us to go beyond them. That's the goal. And helps us to understand bhakti as well. Bhakti, Uttama Bhakti, requires us to go beyond the three gunas, become nirguna. And that process is also more easily understood when we understand the three gunas properly. So all of these are the benefits of why we should understand, benefits coming from understanding three gunas, and gives us a reason to understand them properly. So now in the 14th chapter is a dominant chapter of Bhagavad Gita devoted to the three gunas. Okay? But the three gunas are also covered in a lot of elaboration in the 17th and 18th chapters. So 14th, 17th and 18th. They are also touched upon in earlier chapters like the second chapter, in the 8th chapter. In many different places, three gunas are touched upon some way or the other. But 14th, 17th and 18th have elaborate discussions or elaborate mention of this. And 14th is devoted only for this, only for the for three gunas of Prakriti. So in the three gunas discussion, Sri Bhagavan begins here in the 5th shloka of the 14th chapter. Sattvam rajas tama iti gunav prakriti sambhavaha nibadhnanti mahabhaho dehe dehinam avyayam So he says that the three gunas, guna means a rope. Three gunas of Prakriti, material nature, known as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, they bind, these ropes bind the living being who is actually imperishable. Means the living being is not meant to be bound by them, he is beyond them. But he is bound to this perishable world by these three gunas. So, why am I translating guna as rope as, guna as rope? The word guna in Sanskrit has so many different meanings. For example, guna, basically what comes to mind is quality, right? Guna means quality. Acha guna, bura guna, we say in Hindi. Guna means quality or nature. Or guna also is used to mean measure. Do guna, teen guna means two times or three times, multiple. Guna means multiple. Guna means measure of something. Guna is also used in other contexts as a general attribute, uh, an attribute that is present in some entity, an attribute like knowledge, attribute like heaviness, attribute like lightness, stickiness, whatever attributes. That's also another usage of the word guna. So guna word is used in various ways, and one of the words, one of the meanings is a string or a thread or a rope, something that's used to bind something else. And that meaning is taken here because of the usage of the word nibadhnanti, badhnati. Badhnati means binds. So this verb is used by Bhagavan here. And that clearly indicates that what he means by the word guna here is something that binds. And therefore it refers to, the best translation for this here could be a rope. So I'm translating guna as rope. Elsewhere you will find uh, the word guna in other translations of Bhagavad-gita. You will find guna translated as the modes of material nature. In ISKCON's Bhagavad-gita, for example, which comes from actually Radha Krishnan's translation. Our president, our former Indian president, Radha Krishnan, he translated Bhagavad-gita, and ISKCON's founder, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he used to refer to that when he was teaching Bhagavad-gita, and eventually when he translated, some influence of that has come into his translation in English. And one of them, I think, is this, the modes of material nature. He translates guna as mode, which is also fine. I'm not against it, but I feel rope is a more accurate translation because it binds the living being. And so that verb is used here. So with this, I'll go in further. The three gunas of Prakriti can be visualized in some sense like this is a simple graphic. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and associated with these three words, Sattvika. Sattva, Sattvika. Sattva is the name of the guna. Sattvika means that which is of the nature of Sattva, that which is bound by Sattva. Rajas and Rajasika. Rajasika, that which is bound by Rajas. Tamas, that which is bound by Tamas is Tamasika. Tamasic nature, Rajasic nature, Sattvic nature. We can say like that. Right? So these are three gunas, and there are three circles of three different colors you can see. You can make out Sattva is the lightest color and it is more pure. Rajas is reddish in color. It's got some, something in it, something burning in it. And Tamas is dark in color. Okay, those colors have been chosen with some background in them. And they are of three different sizes. Why are they of three different sizes? Because the three different sizes represent three different levels of freedom. Okay, tamas is the most constricting. The living entity is consciousness. Consciousness is most constricted in tamas. That's why the circle's diameter is the smallest. The next bigger circle, rajas. In rajas, the consciousness is more less constricted than in tamas. And sattva, it is the least constricted or the most free. And so they are of three different sizes. And beyond all of them is where we want to go, and that is called Vishuddha Sattva. You can see that now a yellow glow has appeared. Can you see that in your screen too? Behind the three circles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this yellowish glow is like a bright light. And that is the stage where we want to go, Nirgunatva. Vishuddha Sattva. Vishuddha Sattva is also an alternative term for a stage where we are free from all the three of them. Neither Sattva nor Rajas nor Tamas bind us. Right? So that's Vishuddha Sattva. But before we get there, it's not easy to go there. It requires us to practice our sadhana very seriously. And do everything systematically over a prolonged period of time. And then by the kripa of Bhagavan, we go out of even sattva guna. But right now, our immediate goal should be on a day-to-day basis to be in sattva, as much in sattva as we can. That is, we try to eliminate rajas and tamas as much as we can and be in sattva, and that's a very realistic goal. It's a very practical goal. Okay, to be in Vishuddha sattva is not something that we can do overnight, but to be in sattva is something we can do overnight. And so we should aim for that. Live a sattvic life. Okay, so what does that mean? What does it mean to live a sattvic life? I'll be elaborating on that now in the remaining slides. So going forward, I'll first do an overview of these three gunas, and then we can take some questions. And then I'll go into the specifics of sattva, rajas, and tamas. So the first point to note is that all living beings in samsara, without exception, are bound by these three gunas. So Shri Bhagavan categorically says in the 18th chapter, 40th shloka, that there is no living entity in this samsara which is not influenced by the three gunas of Prakriti. Okay, second point is they always coexist. Means that it is never that a living being is under the influence of only one of them or is bound by only one of them. All three of them bind the living being together. But at any given point of time, one of them predominates. The binding force of one of them is more than that of the other two at any given point of time. Okay, so as we go through our 24 hours in a day, let's say at some point of time, particularly early mornings, for most living beings, for most human beings, the sattva guna predominates. Early morning at dawn time, if somebody gets up and goes for a morning walk and breathes in the fresh air and takes the morning sunlight on them, then they experience sattva more than rajas and tamas. So we say that's being sattvic. But let's say in the night, okay, after a very tiring day, you're feeling very tired, exhausted, you have a dinner also, and then you feel very sleepy, you feel groggy, your mind is not able to work. Then you can see that tamas predominates. And as we sleep in the night, we go into deep sleep. At that time, tamas becomes very strong, and tamas keeps us in that deep sleep, in that sushupti. And rajas and sattva become less. Now, during the daytime, between these two extremes, we feel a lot of other emotions, like we go to work, we want to do everything properly, we go around directing people, we get directed by other people, and we experience different types of emotions. So for most people, rajas predominates as they do their work and so on. Rajas predominates and sattva and tamas go to the background. So this is how, as time goes forward on a day-to-day basis, the three gunas predominance keeps fluctuating. They keep alternating with each other in who predominates. One of them predominates the other two at any given point of time. Now, the three gunas together influence all aspects of material existence, including our clarity of thought, clarity of mind, consciousness, and our preferences, our tendencies, our preferences. Everything is influenced by all the three gunas. Okay, now very important to mention this. The Varna-wise classification of work in Bhagavad-gita, which comes from Gita and our IKS, Manusmriti and all the Smriti Shastra, in all the Puranas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. This is based on the three gunas and of course based on Swabhav. I'll talk about Swabhav later. Now, freedom from the binding of the three gunas is called Mukti. The word Mukti means becoming free from the three gunas. Naturally, just like somebody in the prison is bound by all the chains and the doors and the locks and everything, right? But suppose they are unlocked and they are told, now your sentence is over, you can go. Then they're out of the prison. Nothing is there to bind them as far as the prison is concerned, right? They are now in the free world and they can go around anywhere they want. That is the stage of Mukti. Mukti literally means becoming free from the three gunas and becoming completely free to move and do whatever that person wants to do. And of course, because prema is the higher goal, we should mention that prema subsumes mukti. Prema automatically means if somebody has prema, it means they also have mukti and they are also free from the three gunas. Now, this is also important. Sri Bhagavan and the Mukta Jivas are always free from them. They are never under the three gunas. Of course, for the performance of Leela, which I'll talk about now after some time, they may come under, or they may work, or the three gunas assist them. You can say it like that. They don't bind them. They assist them as they perform their work. They play a role in the leela that they perform. So the Bhagavan and the Mukta Jivas, his Bhaktas, and the other Mukta Jivas like the Kumaras, before they got Bhakti, all of them are in this category. So this is the framework we've already seen, Bhagavan, Jivatma, Prakriti, and Samsara, Yoga, Moksha. So you can see that now our focus in this discussion will be on the Prakriti portion. Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, that's where we are talking about. Prakriti is three gunas, right? Yeah, so before I go forward, I want to ask you if you have any questions at this time, or I can cover some more.
Sir, I did not understand the last line that you have mentioned, that Shri Bhagwan and Mukta Jivas, they are always free from them, and Triguna assist them.
Yeah. It's because,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Complete your question, Ashita.
yes, so what does it mean? Like, I did not understand this.
Yeah. So that's because Bhagavan's Leelas are performed by Svecha. Svecha means by his own desire. He decides that I want to now do this, and he just comes and does that. So he's not dictated by his past karma or by his material tendencies. There's no material desire in him, what we experience as material desire. Material desire means desire driven by Ichcha and Dvesha. Desire coming from that Ichcha and Dvesha. So such kind of desire is not present in him or the Mukta Jivas. They're completely free from them. So Trigunas doesn't determine or control their movement. But for the Baddha Jivas like us, Ichcha and Dvesha drives our decisions and drives all the activities which come from those decisions. So the three gunas control what we can do, what we cannot do, the amount of freedom we have to do something, beginning with our mental abilities. All are because of the influence of three gunas. And that's why we see differences between people. Differences between people and their tendencies and their abilities, all is a consequence of the three gunas. The three gunas acting on them, which in turn is a consequence of their karma. Their karma determines what they are eligible for. The three gunas implement that. The three gunas are the ones which implement that thing in action, make it happen. Has it thrown some light on what you wanted to know, Ashita?
Yes, sir.
Probably as I go through the PPT, if we come back to this point, it might become even more clear.
Yes, sir.
Vedangi?
Thank you.
Sir,
Yes.
so when Shri Bhagwan takes the human form and while performing all the leela and everything, so does the so when we say that whatever actions that we are taking there, we are so there's some karma that we are that gets accumulated. So does it also happen for for Bhagwan, and how do we look at it?
Like I said, for Bhagavan, there is no past karma. For us, the past karma means the karma phalam, the actions we performed in the past, in our present life or in the previous lives. Each action leads to one phalam or fruit. We have talked about earlier, like papa phalam, punya phalam, etc. And those those fruits, which are initially as seeds, they fructify as fruits, means they fructify as the results that we get. And a part of that result is the abilities that we have. A certain ability, mental ability, intellectual ability, the ability to relate with other people, different types of abilities and tendencies that we have are a result of that karma phala, which we experience now. They are all coming from our swabhav. Swabhav is a more fundamental thing. For Bhagavan, those things don't apply. He is always in his Nitya Swarupa. Swabhav and Swarup. Swarup means our pure original identity as the Atma, or in the case of Bhagavan, as the Paramatma. So there's no karma which is determining his actions, and the three gunas don't act upon him.
No, so I understand that there are no past karmas associated, But what about the karmas that are happening while he's in the human form and performing everything?
Ah, so
If he, hmm,
ah, that doesn't cause any phala. So the action that he does not have any material reaction or phalam, karma phalam. He just performs the action and that's it. The action is performed.
okay,
And
sir.
the only outcome of that is his own pleasure. He feels happiness as he does it, like the case of a Mukta Jiva also. As the Mukta Jiva does different actions, uh, that person experiences more and more happiness. Every action is happiness producing, and there's no material consequence of that, which will lead to a future existence for that Mukta Jiva. That's why it's called akarma. I think I explained in a previous class too. Akarma, karma, vikarma, akarma. Akarma means karma which doesn't produce any action. Akarma does not mean inaction, not doing anything. It means doing action which doesn't produce any fruit. Are you getting
Okay,
it?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Going forward, you saw this. We also saw this shloka just now. No, this shloka we have not seen. So okay, well, now we'll do this. Here, Sri Bhagavan says, Daivi hi yesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya meva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. In the seventh chapter, 14th shloka. It's a very, very, what do you call a shloka to be memorized. It says this divine maya of mine. He refers to his own maya. Mama maya, he says, my maya, maya shakti, is daivi, is divine. This means it's not a material energy. It's not just some material energy. It is a divine conscious being like me. And she is gunamayi, means she is endowed with these gunas. She's endowed with the three gunas. Or she uses them as her instruments. She's duratya, she's difficult to cross over, and only those who take my refuge. Mameva ye prapadyante means those who come to me, those who take my refuge, okay? Those who align themselves with me. Maya metam tarantite, they are able to cross over this maya or overcome this maya. Okay, so this is a very strong shloka in the sense it hits the nail on the head, that this is the path forward. There's no question of anything else. So here, I'll dwell a little bit on what this word Maya means. Now, what we mean by Maya actually has two names. We are going to use it in two ways, Mahamaya and Yogamaya. Two roles, Mahamaya, Yogamaya, and both are referred to in different ways. Now, when he's talking about the Maya, which is controlling or binding the living beings with her three gunas, he's talking about Mahamaya. When he's talking about Maya as something that's assisting him in his Leelas, okay, like for example in Krishna Leela we see, right? If you see Krishna Leela, then he calls Maya before he comes as Krishna, Vishnu, he calls Maya and he says, now you please go ahead of me. And then you remove that Garbha in Devaki's womb and place it in Rohini's womb. So Balramji's birth happens like that. Anantasesha appears in Mother Devaki first as a seventh child. Then Yogamaya or Maya comes and she removes him from Devaki's womb and places him in Rohini's womb. And there's a whole Leela associated with that. So there, her function as Yogamaya is being described. It's the same Maya. She's doing her work as Yogamaya. Similarly, later on, she appears, as the daughter of Yashodha, and then Vasudeva brings her from Gokul into Mathura and places her next to Devaki. And then Kamsa comes to know that a baby has been born, and so he thinks now the eighth child, which is going to kill me, has come. He goes to kill that child, like he has killed the earlier six children. He finds a girl there, and Devaki says, don't kill this. He pulls that girl out of Devaki's hand and tries to smash the girl on the rock on the ground. At the time, the girl escapes from his hand and she takes the form of Mother Durga with 8 hands. And then she scolds him. She says, you're a fool. What's the point in trying to kill me? Because the child which has been born to kill you is not here, it's somewhere else. And then she tells him, don't waste your life or don't do this useless activity of killing all the innocent children everywhere. And after saying that, she vanishes. So that form of Maya is Yoga Maya. She's assisting Bhagavan in his Leela. So Mahamaya, Yoga Maya, same Maya having two different roles. As Mahamaya, she facilitates the living being's delusion. That's what delusion is also called Maya, right? The Baddha Jiva's delusion using the three gunas. And she cannot be overcome by the Jivatma's own means. She's crossed over only by taking refuge in Bhagavan through bhakti. Bhakti is necessary for mukti, whichever path of yoga you take. Now, Yogamaya assists Bhagavan to carry out his desired mission through his leelas and also enables the sincere bhakta or the sadhaka make progress towards Bhagavan. So, in any form path of yoga, if somebody is very sincere, wants to become pure, wants to remove themselves, remove ichha, dvesha, and wants to follow dharma sincerely with the intention of becoming mukta, even such a person, even if they are not thinking about bhakti at that point of time, even that person, Yogamaya helps that person to get out of the three gunas and is very benign and protective. So she has both these roles. And so this word Maya in normal usage also, I'm talking about normal usage even without thinking about all this philosophy. Maya, the word Maya is used to mean illusion or deception on the one hand, and is also used to mean kindness and love. Somebody is very Maik, we say. उसकी माया बहुत है. It means that person is very kind, very loving person. बहुत माया दिखाता है, उसके पास बहुत माया है. Or sometimes we plead with a person, थोड़ा सा माया दिखाओ. So please show me some love, please be kind to me. So this also is the meaning of Maya. Maya means both, right? In all our languages, not only in Hindi, but in Sanskrit, I mean, beginning with Sanskrit, in all languages, Maya is used in both these meanings. And Maya is worshipped in this world as Mother Parvati, beginning with Mother Parvati, that's the highest form she has, wife of Shiva. And of course, other forms of Parvati are Durga, Kali, and so many other forms, Chandi, Vaishnavi, so many other forms, Vaishno Devi. All these are forms of Mother Kali or Maya, same Maya Shakti. So this is the understanding of Maya. So Maya is that conscious being which is the Shakti of Bhagavan. But that Maya uses the three gunas of Prakriti. Prakriti refers to the material energy, Bahiranga Shakti of Bhagavan. That Bahiranga Shakti is the Jad Shakti. It means it's not a conscious being, it's material energy. That material energy is used by this Maya to do all these functions. Any questions here? I've covered a concept now. Any questions on this? Anyone? Or shall I go forward?
No,
Okay.
sir, no question from my end.
Okay. All right. So this is a point I already mentioned. Bhagavan conducts himself like an ordinary being, but he's not one. He's always beyond. Okay. Now, I'll discuss first the general influences on the living beings of the three gunas. Okay. This is the broad topic of chapter 14. So most of what I'm going to cover in the next slide is from chapter 14. And then after covering and understanding this, we'll go into specific influences that are listed in chapter 17 and 18 of the three gunas. So here, the general influences of sattva, rajas, and tamas. The first is sattva. These are summarizing the elaboration given in the 14th chapter. Sattva purifies our consciousness. When sattva guna is predominant, the more sattva binds us, the more that sattva acts upon us to the exclusion of rajas and tamas. It purifies us. It gives us more clarity, more knowledge, illumination, mental peace, mental contentment, happiness, the sense of energy, vitality, the sense of strength. Even if physically I may be very weak, physically my body may be very frail, but the inner feeling that I'm strong, I can do anything, that confidence. Okay, the lack of stress. There's no feeling of stress, even in very difficult circumstances, what others would consider difficult. What I would have considered difficult earlier now appears, oh, it can be easily handled. It is not at all really, and I know how to handle it. Okay, that clarity. That clarity in the mind, when mind is very clear, is able to think and see things very clearly, then even a very difficult situation appears easily handleable. And so no stress comes, no anxiety comes. It's non-troublesome, right? And finally, the 14th chapter also says that by being in sattva throughout in this life, or being predominantly in sattva, if somebody leaves their body when they finally die, if they leave the body in the stage of being predominantly in sattva, then they get a future existence among those with the best knowledge. It means it takes them upwards. They go to the higher lokas, right? They take birth among the jnanis. So this is sattva. Rajas, what happens? Now, when rajas becomes predominant, then emotions like the craving for material enjoyment, sensual enjoyment, different types of sensual enjoyment. It can be even sensual enjoyment like the sense of taste, food. Just want tasty food, even that. Or something more, gross like greed, more money. I want more wealth, more luxury. I'm not having enough luxury. I want to live a more luxurious life. I want more richness about me. I want to look more rich to others, in front of others. I want to wear rich clothes. I want to wear this. I want to do that. And all that increases with the influence of rajas. The attachment to anything material and material like position, fame, reputation, the sense of power, material power. I can control others. The sense of wanting to control others. Ishwara bhav. Ishwara Bhava means I am the master. I want to become the director of the institute. I want to become the CEO of the company so that everybody is under me. Nobody dictates to me. I only dictate to others. I want to become the chairman of the board. I want to become the king of the country. That feeling, that is favored by Rajas. That's an outcome of Rajas. So Rajas produces anxiety, stress, misery. And if somebody dies at the point of death, if their mind is predominated by rajas to the exclusion of sattva and tamas, then they get a future existence among similar people who are also very ambitious, materially ambitious, greedy, materialistic in their mindset, and so on. Right? That's called middle. Okay. So we said sattva takes one upward, rajas keeps somebody in the middle. Tamas, the influence of tamas fosters darkness of consciousness. Consciousness becomes dull, becomes constricted. Okay, there's lack of clarity, there's more confusion, mind is confused. Even a simple thing, the person becomes confused. There is a sense of ignorance. I don't know anything. Okay, there's so much to read, but what do I know right now? Almost nothing. That feeling. Then negligence, pramada. Pramada means negligence. Negligence means, not, lack of, I think, what is called mindfulness. Nowadays, the word mindfulness has become a very fashionable word in the last few years. So mindfulness or lack of attention, you can say. I don't know if mindfulness exactly means attention. I think it means attention in some sense. So negligence is lack of attention to things, attention to detail, or even attention to something that is normally meant to be attended to. You leave something behind not knowing where it has been left. So all that increases negligence. The sense of delusion means, like we say sometimes, this person is in a bubble, right? We use the word bubble. Bubble means like he has a false sense of himself or a false sense of reality. He imagines things to be some way, which are not at all like that. He imagines himself to be something and he goes and talks about himself in some way, thinking that others also think like that. No, others are not in that bubble. Others know this guy is an idiot, but he thinks of himself as very smart. Okay, so he's in that delusion of being, or in a bubble. He's living in a bubble. Then a sense of intoxication means a sense of being, uncontrolled, no control. I can, something, whatever comes out of my mouth. I have no control on what comes out of my mouth. I can utter anything. I have no control over it, and later on I may regret I said like that. An intoxication. Intoxicated person, how do they behave? They have no sense of, control on themselves. They can do anything like a monkey, that kind of a thing. Then laziness, feeling like, I don't want to do anything all the time. Oh, so much work is involved. Small thing. Somebody says, go and help that guy, give him some water. अरे कौन करेगा यार वहां तक जाएगा So this kind of a feeling, laziness and wanting to sleep, liking to sleep, liking sleeping looks attractive. I can sleep 16 hours a day. If I'm allowed to sleep, I can sleep 16 hours a day. Sometimes, you go on a train, you see, when you travel on a train, you will see this. If you're going on a long distance journey by train, which takes, let's say, 24 hours or 48 hours, then you will see some people, you know, throughout the day, the berth is open. You can't sit because they want to raise the berth. And how do you sit if they raise the berth? So you have to tell them, sir, it is daytime. I have to sit on the seat. No, no, you go to the top berth and sit. Sir, how can I sit on the top berth? The top berth, I have to crouch like this. That is not my problem. This berth is mine. I have booked this berth. I can raise it whenever I want. Then you have to tell them the rule. There's a rule in the railways that look, you're supposed to keep all the berths lowered and allow passengers to sit between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's a rule, the railways, or something like that. There's a rule which says during the daytime, you're supposed to keep the berths down. Then after telling that, then they become conscious. Otherwise, you have to threaten them. I'll call the TT now. So you'll see some people able to sleep for very long hours. And you imagine, how is it possible? Right? It's not just because the train is shaking like this that they feel sleepy. It's because it's there in them. That ability to sleep is there. And that's the function of tamas. Tamas empowers us in that way. So it has a good side to it because we need sleep also. In the night, at least, we need good sleep. And those who are not getting good sleep are not able to actually get enough tamas to actually experience that sleep. So tamas has that one good side to it. Okay, finally, if somebody dies in tamas, in the stage of being in predominant tamas when they are dying, at that point, then they take birth downwards. They go into lower species, people with lower consciousness, either human beings or with animals. Now, in human beings, you have different levels of, sattva, rajas, and tamas, predominantly sattva, predominantly rajas, predominantly tamas. But if you see the animal world, below human beings, the highest living being is considered to be the go. We say go mata, right? The go or the cow, what we call in English as the cow. But actually, cow is not the best translation. I'll explain that another time. So the go or guy, gau we say, right? That species, which is in Latin called Bos indicus, that species is considered to be the highest in terms of the animal species, in terms of sattva. Among the animals, the highest sattva is present in the go. And so a person will be born as a go or as something else. If the person is heavily into tamas when they die, as a human being, if you die with a very high level of tamas, you're likely to be born in some animal species or even lower than that. So you can see how understanding this well, if you understand the 14th chapter well, and if you are able to internalize it, then naturally a desire will come that I want to be in sattva, because it explains like that. Sattva is very attractive. Naturally, being in sattva means eliminating all kinds of problem internally. And when problems are eliminated internally, naturally our performance in the external world will improve. Right? It's inside out. It's not the outside determines the inside. That thinking comes when you're in rajas and tamas. When your rajas and tamas are predominant, then the thinking is that I have to make the outside world perfect and then I'll become perfect. That thinking comes. But when somebody is in sattva, then they realize that actually the inside world is what determines the perfection of the outside world for me, for that person. So, regardless of the disorder outside, regardless of the chaos outside, regardless of anything outside, if there is sattva inside, then that person is very happy, very peaceful, and is in control. And the world for that person, that person's universe is perfect. You follow? Now I'd like
Sir, I have
yes,
a question.
yes.
So, does the balance of does the balance of these gunas influence what kind of karma we are doing, or the karma that we are doing influence the balance of these three gunas within us?
Good question. Very good question. Actually, it's both ways. So the mix of the three gunas, the composition of how they are present, determines the tendencies that we have, the likings, the preferences, which is what I'm going to cover now from now onwards, which will be in the next session. Today, I think we are nearing the end of the time, so we will not go into that. But what we are going to learn now is that our tendencies and preferences for different things like food, the kind of work we do, the kind of people we worship, the people we look up to, the people whose company we like, all that, all our preferences, our tendencies, and everything, which means our material existence effectively, is a function of the three gunas. Now, in return, what happens is because it's a function of three gunas, ultimately, what the work we do will be a result of that, result of what three gunas are acting on us now. But they create samskar in return, and that in turn determines our swabhav, the karma phalam. And therefore, it feeds back. So our future state of these three gunas will be determined by our current state because of that reason. It's a feedback loop. There's a feedback between them. Did you follow?
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So we have to break that loop. Why now? Consciously working. That's why it requires conscious effort. Anything that's automatically going, unless there is an intervention, it won't break. So to break it, we have to consciously say that, okay, now I'll do what is required to eliminate rajas and tamas and increase sattva. When that decision is taken, then we start moving into more and more of sattva. And we experience it. Immediately we start experiencing it. We don't have to have just a blind faith. We start experiencing it, and that experience gives us conviction that what we are doing is right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hmm. So understanding these three terms and all these concepts and this whole theory, see, all to put together, you can see there's a whole theory now coming out. Understanding this theory very well helps us to interpret the world very well. Theories help us to interpret reality, right? That's the purpose of a theory, to explain the reality and to help us to make decisions about how we want to shape our reality in the future. So therefore, this theory helps us to now interpret this world, interpret our own experiences of this world and others' behavior, others' experiences, explain to them why they are experiencing what they're experiencing, and help shape ourselves and others as we go forward. That's why it's such a useful theory to know all these things. Good. I'd like to ask you, where do you think you are? I'm asking personal question to all three of you, Sarthak also. How do you interpret your own life in terms of sattva, rajas, and tamas from whatever you've understood so far? Think over it and try to share your thoughts so that doing this will help us to get more clarity on this whole thing.
So for me, I think somewhere between sattva and rajas.
Hmm.
Somewhere in between because I like early mornings. I like to wake up early, sleep on time, all those things. And I like to meditate, which kind of helps in eliminating anxiety. Um, Rajas, I would say somewhere between Sattvic Guna and Rajas because I do have craving for good food.
Yes.
So I think that craving thing and of course attachment to relationships like my family.
Yeah.
So I think I have those qualities of Sattva and Rajas. And since this term too is actually quite hectic for Vedangi and me both, so we are kind of also craving for sleep. So for me, yeah.
Good. Good.
That is
Nice.
true.
Good. Sarthak, would you like to share? You are now in an ashram, so you can share probably from your perspective. How do you look at it?
Sir, I think I'll have to contemplate more before I can actually comment anything. But
Okay.
theoretically speaking, all of us, not just anyone, all of us are beyond all these three gunas anyways. We just need to work on to realize that. So, so there are different times when you feel differently, and maybe I'll have to do some contemplation about how to put in, where to put in. So there are some theoretical ways which I can arrive at the answer straight away. But I think I should go ahead with some contemplation instead of relying on some direct thumb rules, etc. So
Good. Sure. You can contemplate and share with us whenever you wish to in the future. Good.
Yes, sir. Thank
So
you.
is it possible that so what the question that you asked, I was thinking that probably at different points of time I am in a like the different type of guna is being activated within me. So for example, let's say let's say as Ashita was saying that right now because it's a lot of work pressure is going on and we are not able to have full night's sleeps at times, so that sometimes sometimes it happens that during the day also that we feel very sleepy and all of that, but it is not something that is a usual pattern in our lives. So this so we can say that probably during this point of time the tamas quality is being activated. So is it like, can we say this thing that at different points of time and at in different conditions different gunas might be active within us?
Of course, we can very much say that. And we also want, for example, tamas in the night because sleep is a biological requirement. It's not just not something undesirable. It's very desirable from the point of view of our body's health. And we need good health even to increase our sattva. If our body's health is not good, then our objective of becoming more sattvic and eventually becoming nirguna will be defeated. Will not be able to fulfill that objective. Therefore, right now we need tamas. We need to depend on tamas at the right time. In the evening time, that tamas when it comes, we should learn how to accommodate it and overcome our sattva and rajas at that time, particularly rajas, which disturbs sleep. It is the reason why sleeplessness or insomnia and lack of proper sleep comes is because of the presence of anxiety, stress. Thoughts don't stop. Like you're involved in, let's say, some issue. There's some issue in your life. It could be related to your work. Like now, you people are going through a lot of term papers and coursework and all that. Or somebody else, let's say, they are going through a bad relationship, personal relationship, and they are going through an issue with that relationship, then those thoughts keep coming even as they are sleeping, even when they try to sleep. And they may fall asleep, but after some time again they break, the sleep breaks and they get up. Again they fall asleep, again it breaks. So they don't get proper sleep, and altogether, and say, supposed to get 7 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep, they get only 4 hours of sleep. And that's an influence of this rajas. So yes, the three gunas at different times of the day act in different ways, and we want them to act in certain ways, but they don't always do that. So that's where our deliberation comes. Like Sarthak said, he wants to contemplate on this, and we should contemplate. We should contemplate on how to increase the sattva, how to make rajas and tamas go down. What should I do? How should I live my lifestyle? What should be my thoughts? What thought should I reject? What thought should I cultivate? This kind of contemplation is very important, and that helps us to achieve it. Yes, Vedangi.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good. Anything else for today, or should we close for today? Okay, we can close for today, and we will again meet next week. So please do contemplate on what we discussed today and come back with more questions, doubts. And if you get time, also do some reflective writing. Sarthak send me something. So you also, Ashita and Vedangi, if you get time, please write something from your thoughts and so on. And we'll meet again next week and reflect upon the topic further. Good. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे धन्यवाद थैंक यू